So we read a lot of science fiction stories in this course. How do they get published? I thought that might be an interesting thing to explore, and so I created an assignment that is sort of centered around you learning the process of how people publish science fiction. My real motivation in creating this assignment was for you to actually go out and look at the magazines and websites that publish short science fiction by contemporary writers. When you take a course, you often find that the writing that you encounter is curated. And of course it is curated. I've chosen most of it. But the writing that becomes curated is generally something that has caught quite a bit of attention. Arthur C. Clarke has been around forever. He had his own television show. Ursula Le Guin won a National Book Award. Nnedi Okorafor writes for the Black Panther series. These are people who are well-established writers, but there are thousands of less established writers who can still write a really excellent short story, and you can find their work in literary magazines and on science fiction websites. And of course, all the authors that we read have published in those venues. 1984 was when Octavia Butler published Bloodchild in Isaac Asimov's science fiction, and she subsequently won Best Novelette for that story, a Nebula Award for Best Novelette for that story. And then in 1985, she won every other award for Best Novelette for that story. That's a multiple award-winning story, Nebula, Locus, Hugo, very popular story. And these awards, the Nebula Award, the Hugo Award, the Locus Award, these are awarded to stories that appear in science fiction magazines and websites. George R.R. Martin was a prolific writer in analog in the 80s, and you can find him in, it seems like, almost every issue if you go to Bookman's and find old issues of analog. So when we think about the landscape of writers, we also want to think about all the people who are out there publishing in the magazines, publishing on the websites, and the people who win these literary awards, because they're the science fiction writers that will, some of them will hang on and make a big impact on how we think about the genre, how we think about literature, how we think about technology. So this assignment is designed for people who are just interested in how do you get science fiction published? How do you publish a short science fiction story? So I ask you to go to the website and look at the guidelines for submissions, the writer guidelines, and just kind of see what they are, because unlike having a novel, if you try to publish a novel, you have to get a literary agent, and then your literary agent needs to try to pitch your novel to a publisher. That's a whole other process, and it's something that can take a long time to learn, and there are whole courses on just doing that. Just learning how science fiction writers share their stories with magazines and websites is not that complicated. You can learn it now, and it's information that if it ever interests you to try to do that in the future, then you'll know how to go about doing it. So those are the two prongs of this assignment. Learn how to publish something a little bit for your own interest, and then hopefully learn about a whole lot of excellent writing in science fiction magazines and websites. So I hope you find something interesting and new by doing this assignment. I always find something new to read every time I do this assignment. I'm not going to lie, there's a selfish motivation in this assignment, which is you find good stuff for me to read. So I know it'll happen again this semester, and I'm looking forward to it.